Hey everyone, my name is Bryon Howard. I'm a Calgary realtor who has sold an average of a house a week since 2003, and this is Calgary Living. I'm interviewing Calgary's top performers as it relates to living and lifestyle in our great city. Some of the podcasts will be real estate specific, but most will be about life in Calgary and why you should visit. Thanks for tuning in. I want to introduce the great, the funny Ryan McKay of Ryan McKay Law on my podcast today. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me. This is my first podcast. I can show it to my parents and show them that I made it now. I'm a big deal.
You made it on Calgary Living, Real Estate and Lifestyle. That's great. And I'm not sure this is making it. Ryan, we met at the Calgary Real Estate Board annual breakfast meeting, forecast breakfast, I guess they call it, in early January. I think it was just a little over 2 years ago in 2018.
Yeah, I think so.
You were there with a nice group, a nice team, probably lawyers that work with you, a great big RV. Is that something you've been doing for a few years? I tend to try to go to those annual forecasts because I find them really informative, good stats and forecasts of what may happen in the following year. Had your RV there and you're inviting me and others to join you on, sort of field expeditions, learn about sort of real estate law as well as have some fun.
Absolutely. So yeah, there's two stories I could tell here. There's the one that makes me look like a really good guy. As a real estate lawyer, I spent 10 years working 12 hours a day. When my wife told me she was going to divorce me, I stopped working weekends. But still, there was a lot of, get to work at 8 a.m., go home at midnight. But my business finally got to a place where it was big enough. I had enough lawyers and enough process in place that I could sneak away and, the world wouldn't fall apart. And so then the only problem I had left is how the hell do I convince my office while they're, out there slaving away, getting all these deals done? How do I convince them that it's a great idea for me to be in an RV with friends, headed to the mountains for a ski trip or a hiking day? Then it came to me, marketing. I said, I've got this great marketing idea. They gave me the green card and out I went. We would take people to Lake Louise skiing. We did a lot of, in the summertime, we would do hikes. And the big thing, the part of the reason I did all that is I spent 10 years looking at the mountains as I drive home, but they may as well have been a painting on a wall. It was a thing, they weren't even real. One of the great things about living in or around Calgary is the amazing amenities, but I just, as a person, I wasn't getting to use those. And I know a lot of the people in our industry, they're so busy working all the time, they don't take that time for themselves. And then as ambassadors for the city, we forget the best reasons to be here. And it's the people that come here to visit that enjoy the beauty, not us. And so that's the thing. I wanted to pound that energy back into the people. That makes us better ambassadors for all the beauty we got.
That's amazing. And you give it such heart. I was telling you before we pressed the record button how I look forward to your emails. You send out these funny emails, probably about monthly, with the next invite and what's happening in Ryan McKay's life and office. It's great fun. How long have you been doing that pivot of working 7 days a week to let's do the marketing, get to know my realtor partners better, and get out and do this stuff?
Yeah, that was 2017-ish when I was able to make that turn. And yeah.
Excellent. Well, it's a lot of fun. I've taken you up on one such invitation, but it was just a lunch and learn.
That's right.
And really enjoyed it, but I haven't showed up on these hikes or ski adventures you're doing. How's the uptake? Are people doing it?
Oh, absolutely. In the beginning, when I would tell people, hey, do you want to get into my motorhome and come skiing? There was a level of trepidation at the real estate conference that you saw the motorhome at. The reason I brought it is because I knew people were imagining a Breaking Bad style motorhome. I don't know what they were thinking, but I wanted them to see it, touch it, feel it, and see that it's okay. There's a core group always chomping at the bit, but then every trip there's always a few new people, which kind of keeps the energy fresh, and it's something that keeps growing. In different events, get different types of people, because of course, yeah, they like the skiing, the hiking, those were sort of staples. But then we do other stuff, like before Stampede last year, we did a line dancing and two-stepping class. That was fun. When a different crew of people showed up for that.
And I've seen you organize Halloween parties, Christmas parties. You sort of theme things, and wow, it's a lot of fun. And so, Ryan, how long have you been practicing law?
Since 2007.
And what most strikes you about living in Calgary?
Well, for me, and so this is where I come out and I tell you something that you didn't know, and now the whole thing just implodes on itself. I'm a foreigner. You've let a foreigner into your midst. I don't even live in Calgary.
You don't live in Calgary.
No, I live on an acreage. Obviously, I commute here to work every day, but yeah, it's a fairly new addition to my life. But I've been trying to get on an acreage forever.
Interesting. Good for you.
Yeah, but I finally found the one, and so yes, I still love Calgary, and for me, couple things like the one thing is it's just a comfort. I grew up in Alberta in Rocky Mountain House. When I left home, I went to Red Deer to acclimatize to city life, and all of that. And then everybody either goes right or left, and they go to Edmonton or Calgary. The girl I was dating went to Calgary, so I followed. I had family in Calgary, obvious default home for me, if you know what I mean. But having said that, what I love, so I've lived in Japan. I lived in Winnipeg for a couple of years when I was in law school, and I just love Alberta's energy. We're in some odd times right now. It's been an odd couple of years, and we're definitely getting some icing on that cake right now. Calgary historically has been a place where if you're willing to work hard, you can do anything. People here rely on themselves. Albertans are very hardworking, independent people that also are generous and willing to share,
Mhm.
So yeah, we've got the right mix of hard work with good attitude.
Nice.
So, I don't know. Yeah. If you're a young person, I don't know why you'd want to be, anywhere else. Housing's still affordable here, yeah.
Interesting. Very good. And so here we are having this conversation, April 14th, the middle of pandemic, or hopefully. Do you have
Yeah.
any vision on that yourself, Ryan? How's that affecting things in your life, and how are you coping with it? You've been a leader with DocuSign or virtual signing in your business. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? How it's impacting your business and, personally your own life as well?
Well, there's kind of, boy, how many days do you got? Yeah, there's a lot that we could talk about there. There's been some very positive things that have come out of COVID. The one I'm very excited about is historically what we're doing now, you couldn't do in a legal context. When buying or selling a house, you would need to come into my office, physically sit in the same room as me. We would sign all the paperwork. And historically, that was great. There was always a lot of people that would, it's not super convenient for people to come in. But once you get there, it's a comfortable meeting. It's always a good time. We have some laughs, and then it's over. So, but deep down inside, I've always known that's not the way the world really wants it. And it's certainly not like the practical realities where we're very far spaced from the technological possibilities. And so because it's not necessarily safe for people to meet anymore, the government has given us a short-term window where we can, all of the stuff we would have done in person, we do right here, just like me and you are sitting right now. You still need to be signing real paper. That's a whole other story that I won't get into, but the only difference is you don't need to come see me. It's a nice difference and a great piece of the future we're getting to test drive now. So it's something I'm really championing. Have you seen that meme? There's a guy on screen and someone off screen says, "You contracted COVID. You have to self-quarantine. Do you A, quarantine with your wife and kids, or," and the guy just B. That's what we're getting now when clients phone in. We're opening a file. They have questions. We're getting them answered. We'll say, "Hey, just so you know, there's a couple of ways you can sign the documents. You can come in and do a traditional signing, or we have quick sign. You come in, sign everything and leave, or safe sign where you pull up to a kiosk, stay in your car. We stay in our airspace, and again, you sign quick and go, or, but the one we start with is, or you can do remote sign where you stay home. They're just like option A. Don't want to hear anything else. So that's exciting. Those are good things that have come out of this. All we need to do is read a newspaper to see the other side. Let's leave that to the newspapers.
Right. Interesting. That's great. How about your own family? I mean, in your last email, we found out it was hilarious that you have 4 kids where you thought you had 2. Will you tell our listeners why that was? Can you repeat the funniness of that email?
Oh.
And how's it going in your homeschooling kind of, how are you doing personally?
Well, I like to poke fun at myself and I like to make jokes that maybe aren't suitable for online content. But yeah, of course, my wife's Japanese. I met her when I lived in Japan. All my kids are half Asian. The joke was I thought I had a daughter and a busy son, that was just doing everything. But it turns out I've got 3 sons. They just all look the same. So yeah, that's either funny or, but
My wife and I had the greatest laugh.
that's great.
And what are you finding easy these days? What's easy for you these days? Similarly, what's hard for you these days?
I'll tell you what's easy. There's so many things easy now. When I wake up, I don't worry about what I'm going to wear because no one's going to see me. There's a bunch of little funny things like that. If the offside racial comment didn't ruin my career, this will. I'm not a big hockey fan. I never grew up watching hockey, but because I'm a guy, everywhere I go, guys want to talk about hockey. That's not happening now. So although, yes, like I say, anyone that I didn't understand with my earlier statement, I've completely alienated now. Still not a friend in the country left.
Tell us a little about real estate and your own personal decisions. How long have you been in acreage? And what part of the city did you move from? And how recent?
It was very recent. I was still a foreigner even before because I lived out in Cochrane. Cochrane's a beautiful town. And it's actually like from Cochrane to my Northwest office, I've got a shorter commute than most of the people that work for me in Calgary. I've been living in Calgary or Cochrane for since 2007. And there was an acreage that had come on the market that I really liked. And it was a foreclosure. And I was trying to put a deal together, something lawyery and a very kind of an odd way to tackle it. But I figured it was going to work really well for everybody. And so, I was running my course and then I got the news. It sold.
Oh.
And just heart broke, and just, when you have that thing where every morning in the shower, driving home at night, every time you're alone, you're just replaying all the things you could have done. So just gutted and, whining to my wife, commiserating. Yeah. And this went on for weeks. Go online on a land title site to see if it had transferred yet. All this stupid stuff. Why am I doing this? Finally, one day I was about to go and look and I just said, stop. It's gone. Move on. There'll be others. So 3 or 4 days after that, it was a Monday evening. I was checking my voicemails and I had a voicemail from a guy I know. He said, craziest thing. I was talking to some guys looking to borrow money to buy that acreage you wanted to buy. They might be willing to assign their contract to you. Do you want to talk with them? So that's Monday night. Tuesday morning, I phone this guy, get the scoop. Deal was closing on Friday. It's a court-ordered sale, changing the possession date. God, only knows if that's going to be possible or not, etc. So the catch was, you can get the place at a great price, but can you do it by Friday?
Wow.
And so I've got all the due diligence that I want to do. I've got a month worth of stuff.
Right.
And 4 days to get it. I've got to get financing in 4 days. So fast forward to Friday, it's 11 in the morning. The house is paid for and it's mine. Wow. So not only did we close on time, we closed early.
Wow, that is great. It sounds like this is in the last 6 months.
I moved in March 6th.
That is wild.
And so I tend to have really good luck. For example, in 2007, I was in Winnipeg, finishing my article, getting my call to the bar. I missed my friends, back in Calgary. The minute I got my call to the bar, I raced back to Calgary, raced out to buy a house. I signed the contract in May, and I took possession, I think, June 13th, 2007.
Right.
They scientists, economists from all over the world universally agreed my deal was the absolute pinnacle of the 2007 market, and it just slalomed downhill ever since. So, right. So I nailed it.
When you told me
for the most money.
So you're having a little internet thing here. So that's incredible. You told me you came to the bar in 2007. So did you start practicing real estate in 2007 at the same time in Calgary?
Yeah.
You came in and you were busy from the get-go. And you had your dream house you thought you got at a reasonable deal until it started to drop 2 years later, it probably dropped 30%. Even when you sold it, is it worth what you paid? I don't think so. Or is it?
That's the beauty. The beauty is now, because I was in this panic to buy this place,
Yeah.
my house just hit the market 2 weeks ago,
Okay.
right in the middle of a worldwide pandemic.
Right.
So I was able to buy at the highest price point I could have paid. The good news is I'm now going to sell at the lowest price point. I kind of nailed it on both sides.
That's funny, right? And so what's happened in the last 2 weeks? Showings in your house, it's vacant, so it's a little easier. Are you getting showings?
I want to say it's still the bustling market, but no, it's been pretty quiet. I listed it at the price the agent recommended. I phoned him the other day and said, let's get it done, knock 50K off. Let's make it happen. So it's listed at 479 right now. I paid over 6, but hey, who's counting? It's a good deal. It's a beautiful house.
This podcast is Calgary Living, Real Estate, and Lifestyle. I am constantly working with sellers that are, if they bought in 2006, 7, 2013, or 2014, almost, not for sure in 2006, 7, but certainly 2013, 14, they have lost equity almost certainly. Not all the time, but most of the time. And then condo owners, especially. Your story is, thanks for sharing it, because not everyone will. In real estate, we mostly hear about the successful stories. People always want to tell about how lucky they were or how great they did with their real estate investments. It's not always the case in Calgary.
But that's the trick. One thing I see every day, people are not willing to accept it's 2008, not 2007. Because something was worth something at some point, they're not willing to accept it. None of that matters. Your buyer isn't in 2007. They're in 2008, and this is what your house is worth. If you want to sell it, price it accordingly. And if you can't, then just keep owning it. I'm not jazzed that I had to price my house where I priced it. But again, I've got a new house now. The old one needs to go. I've got to do what it takes, and the market is going to tell me what my house is worth. And it doesn't matter what I think, the market's got an opinion, and that's the one that matters if you want to sell.
I have that kind of conversation, of course, lots with, sellers and buyers, and sort of similar, different, angle. Do you have that in your transaction or, your place as a lawyer? Are you having that conversation with people, or you're seeing them already after they've made the decision and they're under contract kind of thing?
Absolutely. Yeah. They've been through all that. Every now and then I'll have a client that'll say, what do you think? Did I pay the right price? And I tell them, I don't even know what color your house is. I couldn't pick it out of a police lineup. What I do is totally different than that. Yeah. So, maybe you got a deal, maybe you didn't. There's good people that know the answer to that, and they're called realtors.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask you this question? How does your intuition system work for you?
My intuition system?
Yes.
It works not very well if you're talking about my intuition for buying and selling real estate. What do you mean by my intuition system?
Well, I thought it was a good question, Ryan.
Okay. Well, that's there's certain things there's certain things that you have nothing but intuition. I try to read the news every day, keep a finger on the pulse of my local world, and make decisions that are going to be smart for my business. And, and again, lots of times I get lucky, sometimes I don't, so, I do trust my intuition that way. But the other thing that I really love is data, because so at McKay Real Property Law, we have built our own software system that we manage our entire firm through. And, so in the old days, everything was done in paper and there was no record of any, you know what I mean? Like, it's all little pieces of data spread all over the world and nowhere to consolidate. And so we would have things like, such and such realtor, they send us so much business. Like that's our top guy. You got your gut feeling or your intuition. Once we started taking that and doing the work in the software we created, we could see every deal with every realtor. We had visibility into things that were previously invisible. Sometimes you realize the guy you thought sent you so much business is actually just bugging you so much. You know what I mean? Like, that's the person that's on the phone with you every day. So it feels like you're doing a whole bunch. But then there's other people that have totally glided under the radar. And when you do the math, you're like, holy smokes, this person over here, I hardly even know them, but they send me twice as much business. I like intuition, but I'll take data when I can get it.
When someone says, show me the data, you're liking it.
I don't mind that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Tell me about your interest in real estate. How did you happen to go into law? Is it because you were dreaming to be a real estate lawyer? And then similarly, I think you own 4 McKay law firms around the city. Is that right? Tell us about how that happened and where they are. I guess there's a Southwest close to where I live in Altadore, Myrtle Loop area.
Yep. The answer I always tell people, there's probably a good answer, but I'm going to give you the true answer. I went into law for lots of reasons. But one of the big reasons is because I knew I could never pass calculus, and therefore engineering and architecture were built. I would have loved to be an architect. When I was young, that's what I wanted to do until I found out I had told people for years, I'm going to be a lawyer when I grow up, not really believing it, but one thing led to another and it all came together. The reason I went into real estate law specifically is I felt the least like law and the most like business. The usual trajectory, at least the way I understood it, is you slave all through junior high and high school so you can get into a good university. If you get into a good university and get good grades, you can get into law school. If you work your ass off in law school, maybe you can get hired by one of the big firms. And if you get hired by one of the big firms, maybe you can slave for 5, 10, 15 years under the big dogs. And you'll finally be the partner, the guy. That's a long story. I'm kind of done waiting to be what I'm going to be someday. I'm ready to be it now. The big firm life seemed like too long of a road, but I knew I could go out on day one, which I did. I got my call to the bar on May 10th. May 11th was the last day I worked at the law firm, although I loved it. They were great people. I went out and started my own law firm instantly. There were a lot of aspects that did my personality very well. And that's why, I probably would have had more fun being an architect or a carpenter, or a realtor. Because the funny thing is I love real estate, but I don't love paper. That's part of it I get. I never even see the guy's house. Yeah, I wish I could be out enjoying real estate, but I just see paper. But it ain't bad.
No, good for you. How long have you had the law firm on 14th Street? It's been 5 years, maybe.
I think we picked that up in 2017, 2016. On 14th Street, we call it our Myrtle Loop office, but it's actually in Bankview. But Myrtle Loop sounds better, so we go with that. We own that building. It's the first and only one we own. We got an office in Lake Buena Vista and one in Silver Springs, so we have the city blanketed. We did that because we wanted to be close to our people, convenient for everybody. Having multiple locations made sense. With remote signing, no one's coming to see us anyway.
Yeah.
And so right now, that's a window that is supposed to close, but I'm wondering if it will, and even if it does, my guess is it gets reopened before too long. So I'm rethinking that right now. It may be that we don't need, multiple locations anymore and we can still service people the same way.
Ryan, I'd like to talk about the boom bust economy of Calgary and your experience with it and, your jokiness about, how lucky you are buying in 2007 and selling, in pandemic times. So you have like a perspective that, you've already shared with us. How do you cope with the boom bust economy in Calgary? And obviously you're seeing buyers and sellers and, friends and family and loved ones and neighbors that, cope with it as well. Any just thoughts on how it affects your mindset or what do you do to help others in terms of our unique situation of oil and gas, boom bust economy?
Man, it's the hardest thing in the world. In 2007, when I got here, the world was going crazy. Landlords wanted $1 million a square foot. Paralegals wanted $1 million a year. And everyone was like, well, if you don't want to rent my office, some junior lawyer oil company will come in and rent it for twice the price, so kiss my ass. And 2 years later, no one's got a job. If you live here, you have to accept that it's hard to get used to. I don't think anybody ever does, but good years, you got to put something away for the bad years and hope that you've got enough. Right now, money is time. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like if you're that person that's recently lost a job, you've got to look at your burn rate and you've got to do everything you can to minimize that burn rate, and you got to look at how much money you have, and that's the math. Right. That's how much time you got. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's the thing. Like you just have to do everything to expand that ratio so you can make it to the next shore, buckle up for the next boom. My dad owned a pipeline company. He started it in the 80s. Everyone went bankrupt, but they made it through somehow. He was in that part of the oil patch where the end of that dragon, the tail is whipping everywhere. And that's where he was. But what he always said was, give me a recession any day. He said, we've always made more money in recessions because in the boom time, everything that cost $1 in the recession costs 12 now. You need to do a road crossing. You can't find any companies that want to do the work. And when you do, they don't show up. Like they show up 2 weeks late and say, if you don't like it, kiss my ass. Right. You got 20 other jobs to go to. Everybody that works for you is saying, piss on you. I can go down the street and make twice the money. So everybody's got that attitude. And so that thing, he said, for him, the boom time was the work because that's when everyone's expectations were out of control. If you live here, you just got to know you're signing up for that wild ride.
Do you think Calgarians, Albertans are good at saving for a rainy day? Like my perspective coming from the East Coast, where I grew up and coming here in 2003, I'm not particularly good at saving for a rainy day personally. I don't find most Albertans or Calgarians I associate with are like,
well, why? It's never going to end. Money's never going to end.
That's what we think. Ryan, I see we're coming towards 45 minutes and we don't want to bore our listeners too much. A couple more questions. What advice would you give your younger self?
Yes.
What profession other than lawyer would you have liked to try?
That's a great question. My mom and dad had their first, my older sister, when they were 16 and 17. Neither of them graduated from high school. And so for my dad, that was a big thing. Like, don't be a goddamn bum like me, get a goddamn education, you know. I heard that my whole life. It made me think, if you don't get an education, you're a bum. And that's what I was taught to believe. I've got a privileged position to watch the world from. I am educated. I am a lawyer. I meet thousands of people every year from every walk of life. And I can tell you, you know, 9 out of 10 lawyers or doctors that I've done a real estate transaction for, they're putting 5% down on a $2 million house.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they're living in this world where they're trying to show the world what they are, but you look behind the scenes and it's different. And then I've got guys that work concrete dropping 900 grand cash on my table to buy the acreage they want. To be a skilled carpenter would have been an amazing job. Things that are like you stay, lots of them make great money, especially you're, you know, a house builder in times, but don't get caught in the education is all trap. Depending on who you are, that might be the right path and it might not. So yeah, I think that I would probably have made a better tradesperson. Because I speak like a tradesperson. I held the language down because we're on film, but
on that note, Ryan, I only known you as just like a sort of crazy, funny, fun person. And so on this podcast, I asked, you know, prior to coming onto the show, I said, you know, send me your pro photo as well as a few others that are more like you doing the things you enjoy. You sent me one photo, totally pro, like you look like the slickest lawyer. Where did that photo come from? You're a killer in that photo. That's how I expect a lawyer to look. I know you with flowing curly hair. So what's going on with the pro photo? It just hasn't been updated, or you take the pro photo real serious?
Well, that pro photo is probably from about 2007. I learned that trick from realtors. You know, you be a young guy, you know, while playing tennis, all buff, and you meet him and he's like 68. Yeah.
Okay. Or one real estate coach I had joked. The realtor sends the information, the package, and they're coming to list your home. She sends her photo and everything else. And she shows up the door and the fellow opens the door and says, "Oh my God, what happened? They sent the older sister." Ryan, how can people reach you? Obviously, you have a website. Are you on social at all?
I am not. I'm so disinterested in that. We do have, I think, McKay Law Life. I should know the answer to this. You can call me with my pants down. We have all that stuff. So my marketing manager, Andrea, she manages it all for me. And I'll bet it's awesome. I'll bet because she's smart. She's amazing. So I'll bet you our stuff is good. I don't even know where to find it. I've never looked for it.
I'll dig out the links and put them in the show notes. What's your website? Is it McKayLawLife.com or McKayLaw.com?
McKayLaw.ca.
Okay, great.
Yep. Call us at 403-800-8000. We're in the world.
Your main is real estate law. So that's how people have any real estate needs. You're the man. Is there anything else? Any other ask from your audience or things that we haven't covered that we should have?
No wonder. We've covered lots of good stuff. We do wills as well. So right now we're doing a lot more of that.
Right.
But yeah, if you need real estate, if you need help with a will or an estate, we're here to help. We're very easy to find, easy to work with. And yeah, but I know I didn't come here to brag about me. So
It's a real pleasure. Thanks for sharing your real estate story, venture, and life in Alberta. It's been great.
right on, Ryan. Thanks for the invite. This was fun.
And I will